Okay, good morning and welcome to our March Learning Series online seminar. Today's topic is going to be around modernization and with just a good look at various modernization services as well as some of the modernization products, so to speak, to go from something that's obsolete into something more current and modern. Uh, as we typically do, we just kind of kick off here, just kind of what's coming up, some intro slides. So, our learning series seminars have been scheduled for the entire year. Our normal schedule is between January and October for the year, so we're filled all the way up to October. Today is modernization. In April, we'll come back and look at power and network update. May, we're into industrial automation tools. Those are things such as Proposal Works and Integrated Architecture Builder, as others, some other Rockwell configuration tools. June, we'll look at process solutions updates. That's going to be around Plant PAX, as well as some of the ancillary products that are used for process control. And in July is IO platforms. Look at what's going on in IO. There's going to be some new developments towards the middle to end of the year, so some things we can update you on at that point. And of course, August, September, October are out there as well. If you want to go and learn more about everything, you can go to reynoldsonline.com, go under our training and events section, and you can see the whole schedule as well as register for all those events. Also, we are running currently a series of optics workshops in our various locations. We've done a few in February and March, and we have a few coming up in April and May. So if you're in Corpus Christi, Baton Rouge, San Antonio, or Lafayette, and you'd like to learn more about optics, please attend one of these sessions. They're free. They're designed to be a general introduction into what optics is and some hands-on experience with it as well. You can also go to the reynoldsonline.com training and events page to learn more and register for those sessions as well. And finally, we teased this last month and just kind of save the date once again. We're still about 2 months away, a little bit over 2 months away, but in Houston on May 27th, we're going to have a very large event that the Reynolds Company is sponsoring. It's going to be our Process and Power Technology Conference. It'll be a single-day event with multiple tracks, multiple presentations, as well as some hands-on labs during the day. So it's going to be a really great event. We'll continue to update you on what the topics are, the presentations, more about the event. And once again, you can learn more about that at our reynoldsonline.com website. So please visit that or speak to one of your local specialists or account managers to learn more. Okay, with that, we'll move into our main agenda for today. We have multiple specialists lined up to speak, all from the Reynolds Company. Leading us off will be Brad Freeman, and then Mike Olet, then Philip Lucia, and Mike Masterson will be our closer for today. So with that, I'm going to turn over the presentation to Brad.
Hey, and good morning, everyone. So my name is Brad Freeman. I am the services specialist for North Texas. So I'm located in the DFW area. I support our sales team specifically when it's coming to services, which is a very broad range of things. It can be training on our equipment. It can be spare parts contracts to help you make sure that you stay running as you're using our items. We've got remote support contracts, or we've got what I'm talking about here today, which is facility assessments. Installed base evaluations and asset optimization planning are the two specific programs. But we are kicking off the modernization discussion here because we know that you as our customers will come to us when you know that there's something you need to address. Hey, I've got this old PLC. What do I do? What should it convert to? I know how to do it myself. Tell me what hardware to buy, or hey, can you help me figure out how to do this as a turnkey project? The big picture question is, how do you make sure that you are addressing the correct machines, the correct lines, you know where you're at risk and that sort of thing. So that's where we bring in the install base evaluation. So what is it? Well, this is a detailed survey of your facility. We would come in, one of our technicians on site works with you ahead of time to make sure we know what areas of the plant need to be addressed, what your names for the areas of the plant are, that sort of administrative side to make sure that the data we're gathering is organized and easily accessible. And then we're going to go through every control panel in your facility. We're going to document the part number of every PLC, every HMI, every IO rack, anything automation related. And that can be just Rockwell equipment, or we'll do this for Rockwell and any other automation brands you have as well. Once we finish up with the on-site data collection, we then send that back to a team. And this is all that that team does. They sort through that data and create a set of reports. We're going to give you that list of here's a bill of materials so you can easily filter through what information, what items are in which control panels and which parts of your plant, where are you at risk of discontinued items. We're going to make recommendations for what spare parts you need on site. There's going to be a lot of information coming back. And the goal of that, I've really touched on that a little bit. First of all, of course, we want to help you reduce your downtime. What spares do you need? This is data that can help you in the troubleshooting space. But since we're talking about modernization today, I want to highlight that second bullet point there. We want you to use this information to plan migrations and plan your modernization efforts. And then there's also some additional info. While we're looking through every panel, we'll make notes. If we see wiring issues, if we see arc flash non-compliance, you're missing labels or something of that nature, we'll give you a list of action items for some of those, I'll call them housekeeping items. But that middle goal is really what we're talking about today. How do we take this detailed information and help you make an actual game plan for the next 6 months, the next year, the next 5 years, and determine what needs to be done in what order so you can start making some good business decisions now. Now, I have a few sample reports, and I'll admit spreadsheets are not the best thing on a webinar. So I've got a few quick screenshots, but these are reports that I have copies of and I'm able to send out to anyone who's interested. So reach out to me, or I have counterparts in other areas of our company. So if you're not sure, about contact information, reach out to your account manager. They'll know who to get in touch with, and we can start going through this in a little bit more detail than this quick screen share that I have now. So this first report, this is from an actual IBE that Rockwell did with a customer. I believe this is a bakery in Wisconsin. That's the sales sample that they've given us. So you can see we've got on the far left of the screen some color coding on the life cycle of products. So we can filter that really quickly to what is discontinued. Now this doesn't show us where anything is. This is the storeroom report. For each part number, it's just saying you have this number installed, we recommend this number of spares, and then we compare it to what was actually in the storeroom. So this helped them make some really quick but impactful decisions on their storeroom. Get rid of spares you don't need. Where are we at risk of discontinued items that we don't have any spares for? That becomes a modernization priority. Now, the second main spreadsheet, main report that you would get, we've got these first 4 columns are sections of the plant. First, we're looking at their packaging area, and then within that, I filtered to dry mix, and then their dry mix lines 1 and 2, and then that 4th column is the names of different machines in that area. So it gives us a method to very quickly narrow things down to a specific area of the plant, On the far right of the screen, you can see some color coding on life cycle status. We're trying to make this as accessible as possible. And again, I'm not going to go too much further into this because screen sharing a spreadsheet on a live webinar, this is not the best way to help you really sift through this. Again, reach out. We have copies of this that we can share. That will make this a lot easier. So the install base evaluation has existed for 10 or 15 years at this point. It's a service that Rockwell's offered, and what we've consistently seen is that it can turn into data overwhelm, that we would give customers just this massive spreadsheet and we'd all look at it and agree, wow, this is some great information. And then the action beyond that didn't always occur. So what we've created to address that is a follow-up, I'll call it a consulting engagement. So once we have those final installed base evaluation reports, a criticality engineer who works for Rockwell will come on site and run what we call a criticality workshop. They sit down with your team and review each of the machines that was assessed in these reports and see what is your team's feedback on how reliable is this machine? Do you know how to fix it yourself, or are we having to rely on remote support or rely on a contractor coming in to help you get this back up and running? What safety and environmental concerns are tied to this specific machine? You know, there's some things that if they go down, the plant is shut down and has to be evacuated, or there's some things that if it shuts down, there's a workaround and we can keep production running for a few days while we're waiting on spare parts. So that helps rank things into a priority level for each machine. We're comparing that with the installed base evaluation data of where are these items in the life cycle? Where are you at risk of obsolescence causing, I'll say, chaos? And that helps create a risk ranking like what you see on the screen here. Again, this is a sales sample that I can send out to any customer who contacts me and is interested. So for this customer, we looked at machine skill level, environmental health and safety impact, downtime cost, operational demand, and equipment utilization. We can choose other metrics. There's a lot of options we have. We choose the metrics based on what the customer says is most important to them. Once we've ranked each of these items, we get that machine score you see on the far right. That's a risk ranking on a scale of 1 to 10. So that gives you a really good metric to then go to your budgeting process and say, okay, we know which machines are most at risk of causing significant downtime, significant issues within our operation. And this is where we need to address modernization efforts first. So this can help you put together a plan very specifically towards what items need to be addressed this year, next year, 4 years, 5 years, however far you work on your budgeting cycle, you can take this information and extrapolate outwards. We also get, I'll say, a very PowerPointy PowerPoint back. We can give a high-level presentation to anyone who's upper in management who wants to see some of the, I'll say, high-level recommendations. Excuse me. This is one particular machine off of that last one that I was showing you here. This is the same customer, same sales sample here. They had an L61 controller that had gone discontinued. We knew that it just needed to go to an L81. That's a functional upgrade, so we didn't have to worry about re-engineering the controls. Their kinetics, their motion control modules, those had gone end of life, so they needed to determine what they would be migrating to. And then we knew what their drives migration path was. At the time this was being done, they were dealing with some COVID supply chain issues and there were some long lead times. I don't believe that's the case anymore, but we're making really specific recommendations for the machines that were most at risk. So the install base evaluation, that's the data collecting. Asset optimization planning, that's us helping you turn it into actual action items. Now, the last piece that I want to touch on is one specific example of the support activities that we have. So Slick 500s, we know that a lot of our customers have those installed. And that's one of the biggest needs right now in our customers for modernization. So the next few slides, I just want to run through specifically, if you have Slick 500s running in your facility, what can we do to help you step forward with that? So first, of course, we want to assess things. We could look at individual machines, of course, but everything I just said around helping you create a game plan. Then we plan, then we execute. Currently, Rockwell, they've done this off and on for the last few years. They have a promotion that is tied specifically between doing an installed base evaluation and if we come in and do a turnkey Slick 500 conversion to compact logics. You're going to get an extended warranty. You're going to get access to Rockwell's e-learning subscription that's known as Learning Plus, and you get a 1-year subscription to My Equipment. That is an online dashboard that helps you manage lifecycle. It's taking a lot of that install base evaluation data and putting it into a digital online format instead of Excel spreadsheets or PowerPoints. So that helps enable some collaboration across your organization. Now, specifically when we're looking at Slick 500 modernizations, if you have done an installed base evaluation, and then you come and do a turnkey conversion project, if you return the Slick 500 to Rockwell, you can get 10% off of that project. If you don't return it and you keep that to be a spare for yourself for any other Slick 500s that you still have running in your plant, you would get 5% off. That discount can keep being applied until the total discount has been whatever you spent on the install base evaluation. So we really are viewing this as the needed first step, and we want to back that up by letting you use the funds you invest in assessing your plant, use that towards the actual modernization efforts. And then just a quick run through on some of the specific support services that we offer for Slick 500s. We know, again, that so many of our customers are still relying on these. So we have made sure that all of these products, our support team through TechConnect, that is Rockwell's remote technical support program, they will stay familiar with all of these products for at least 5 years past the end of life notification. Additionally, engineers that we have who have been around for longer, they will know these products from further back. So it becomes a little bit less specific that we know we will have engineers available, but for that first 5 years, we know that you're going to be covered. And beyond that, we're going to make every effort to make sure that we're connecting you with the right folks who can help you for remote troubleshooting as long as you're relying on this hardware. Additionally, on-site support, we have a whole team of field service engineers who that's specifically what they're there for, whether that's emergency callouts or the sort of turnkey modernization projects that I referenced. Training, myself and the other services specialists, we help manage our training schedule as well. So as you're moving into new technology, we are offering classes so that you can stay up to speed on what the differences are between that and what you had been running. And then one of the key things that can really help you stay productive while you're moving through a modernization effort is remanufacturing. So that's Rockwell's terminology for repair services. And that's because we are not just going to fix whatever component of a Slick 500 or a drive or any other item failed. We're going to test the entire unit and make sure it's coming back to you like new or better. Newer firmware revisions if needed, fully tested, ready to go. So as you are trying to phase yourself out of relying on hardware that you can't buy new anymore, we can keep using that repair loop to keep things going, especially if you've made, say half of your machines have converted. We can use the Slick 500s from those machines as spares towards the remaining ones. That helps you figure out a 5-year plan for modernization instead of needing to find capital to do everything at once within a year. And so with that, I will step aside. I encourage anyone, reach out to myself or to your account manager, and they can put you in touch with my counterparts around the company. Thank you so much. And I believe, Michael, you are next.
Great, great. Thanks, Bradley. Hey, my name is Michael Olett. I'm the drive specialist for medium and low voltage drives. I also contribute to the engineered projects team as well in the Houston office, cover all of Houston and also get into other projects that are outside of Houston as well. Some of the things that we got to go over today are just where we're going with drives, what we currently have, and let me go ahead and get started here. Okay, some of the things, some of the new drives that we've got coming out or have been out for a while is a 755 TS. We'll kind of focus on that as being the next platform moving forward. The 755 TS is a 6-pulse drive, so it's comparable to our 753 and 755 series drives. They also offer some enhanced safety online, or as far as network safety. Smart scalable activities or things that we can do also in the drive in the network security. This is the current family that we have. Others that we have are the 525 series. We do have another smaller fractional horsepower to 30 horsepower drive coming out. I haven't seen a whole lot of information on that yet, so I'll hold off introducing that. But currently we have the 753 series, which is really our workhorse in the industry. Does everything we need to do as far as pumps, fans, some other high-end type control as well. The 755 family, or 755 series, is actually going in active mature mode. So this actually means it's got a limited lifespan. Right now, there's no mention of when that will be. You'll have to get with your salesperson or sales engineer to maybe get further information on that, when that might take place. But in the foreseeable future, the 755 will be available. We're just starting to migrate away from the 755 drives due to the fact that the 755 TS can do everything plus of what the 755 can do. The 755 TS does have also all the security and stuff that we had mentioned in their network security. Option cards are the same for all these drives, 755 TLs, TS, and TMs. Some of the others are the 755 TL family, which you see on the right. These are active front end drives. All of these are progressively growing in capabilities and also what we can offer as far as a drive to offer to you. Active front end, eliminating harmonics or reducing harmonics. We've also got a common bus type style drive as well. And so this is where we're going to end up. This is the whole family. Again, leaving out the 520 series. This is where we'll end up. The growing for the future is the 755 TS. We've done some things as far as size with the 755 TS that the market has been asking for. Typically, when we move into a frame 8, we would see what you would see over on the in the not furthest to the right, but the third from the left. We would move into a larger MCC style section like that for frame 8. But let's move to the next. So this is what we're looking at. The 755 TS would be frame 8. We're talking like 545 amps, 450 horsepower, 400 horsepower. Typically with the 755, we would move into the frame 8, which you would see in the middle there. Now we have the frame 7A, which is only in the 755 TS family. The frame 7A can fit into enclosures. We can do a lot more with it as far as getting it in 3R panels. We have a lot of requests for that to get that larger frame drive into the 3R panels, and 4X, NEMA 4, 4X as well. So you can see the dimensions on that are considerably smaller. More user friendly as far as what we're doing with getting them into enclosures. And again, that family, the 755 TS, all of the same boards, communication boards, I/O boards are all the same across the 750 series family. Okay. So this is just another example of that. Just to kind of move forward, show you the dimensions on that, what it was from that frame 8 to the larger frames, or the smaller frame 7 that you see on the right. So this would be we can go from 755 TS from the lower horsepowers all the way up to 450 horsepower now, depending on what voltage. We can get into 617 amps with the 600 volt series. So that's definitely going to help us in the market. Okay. Thank you for your time.
Hey everybody, this is Philip Lucia. I am the mechatronics specialist for the Reynolds Company. I'm situated here in Dallas-Fort Worth, but I cover the entire state of Texas and Louisiana, all of the area that Reynolds touches, so I guess South Louisiana. And I will talk a little bit about how modernization relates to motion control and mechatronics. So while Rockwell offered servo drives using other communication protocols in the past, the current product lineup for Rockwell Kinetics Motion has been narrowed to focus only on Ethernet IP servo drives. Kinetics 5300, 5500, and 5700 all utilize what's called the SIP Motion protocol from ODVA that delivers high-performance deterministic motion control required for closed-loop drive operation using standard unmodified Ethernet. With SIP motion, clock synchronization of better than 200 nanoseconds can be readily achieved, meeting the needs of the most demanding motion control applications. The 5300 and 5500 are single-axis drives, although the 5500 can be set up to share a common bus, and the 5300 can share control power if you have multiple units. The 5700 is the flagship drive for multi-axis, large machines, or high-power servo applications. Outside of the SIP motion protocol, but still within the Ethernet Kinetics family, the 5100 drive is the go-to solution for standalone or indexing applications, or it can utilize Ethernet for communication with a Micrologix PLC. If you aren't familiar with the options in the Kinetics drive lineup, please reach out to your account manager and request a motion overview presentation so I can go into more detail on the features and selection of these products. So, old motors can survive, in some cases, for decades. I'm sure we've all seen them, if they're selected carefully and if they're not abused in the application. And they can often, but not always, be reused when you're doing a drive modernization. But do consider motor combinations that were not available in the past, such as the rotary motors shown here, like the TLP motors, single cable Kinetics VP series servos, or the option-packed Kinetics MMA main motors. You can reduce your machine footprint and potentially the labor time required to run cable by choosing a new modern servo motor in addition to adding years of life to aging equipment. If you are careful to select your motor so that the shaft loads and operating speeds follow the published radial and axial load force ratings published by Rockwell in the document Kinetics Rotary Motion Specifications, then the bearing fatigue life is estimated at 20,000 operating hours. But this 20,000 hour life does not account for possible application-specific life reduction that can occur due to bearing grease contamination from an outside source or from other potential failure modes that can reduce motor life. Reynolds is able to help evaluate your motor for replacement or reuse if you have a modernization. All right, so let's talk a little bit about migration paths for the Kinetics servo drives. While in the past, Rockwell Automation used various networks, including Circos, for communication with Kinetics servo drives, today the de facto motion network strategy for Rockwell Kinetics products is SIP motion over unmodified Ethernet. So it's advisable to start planning and executing migrations to the active product line today. Kind of like what Brad talked about, you don't want to be caught unawares if you have an aging servo drive that you can't get parts for anymore that's on a critical piece of equipment. For the 200 volt class Circos offering, the best migration path is going to be the Kinetics 5500. There are possible higher power drives in the Ultra 3000 line that the 5500 cannot replace. And for this drive, the Kinetics 5300 makes it possible to migrate all power rangers within the 2000 volt class. And it's adaptable to 95% of all motors that are used within that class of drives. For the 400 volt class Circos drives, there's two possibilities. For lower axis count and lower drive power capabilities, consider the Kinetics 5500. For higher axis count and higher drive power capabilities like the Kinetix 7000, the Kinetix 5700 would be the choice for most of these installations. However, the highest power Kinetix 7000 drive, the PowerFlex 755T, is going to be a better fit in terms of its drive power capacity. Lost my slides here. I don't know what's going on there. Can you get those back there? All right, thanks. Sorry about that. And then last note, there are some advanced safety options in the Kinetix 6200. So the obvious migration path is going to be the Kinetix 5700 for that drive. It also offers advanced safety features, which are a topic for another day. Please request a motion update from your Reynolds account manager to learn more. I can go into detail about what all the advanced safety features are within the Kinetix portfolio. Okay, so that covers the multi-axis and Circos drives. For discontinued standalone and Ethernet IP drives, Rockwell has fewer potential migration paths to navigate unless you're going to want to add a Logix PLC and use a SIP motion drive. Otherwise, for both the 200 volt and 400 volt class, the Kinetix 3 and Ultra 3000 drives, you should be migrating to the Kinetix 5100. The Kinetix 5100, being the only non-SIP motion Ethernet servo drive in the Kinetix family, is programmed a little differently than the SIP motion drives. It uses either its own KNX 5100 software for programming your indexed motion profiles, or it uses Rockwell's connected component workbench with a Micro 800 controller, or it can interface with a Logix PLC via an AOI. The Kinetix 5100 servo drive platform is available to cover the continuous and peak current performance of the entire range of Ultra 3000 drives. And finally, same as the Kinetix 6200, the Kinetix 6500 with advanced safety functions on SIP motion should be considered for migrations to the Kinetix 5700. And then finally, one important note, I would caution you against selecting a new servo drive by comparing specs with the old drive. That's an easy way to get yourself into a bad situation where the new drive cannot perform as expected. Instead, you need to always start with the motor or motors that you're using and then select the corresponding drive. You can use the Rockwell Kinetix Motion Control Selection Guide document for that, or you can use Rockwell Motion Analyzer to do a complete power analysis and sizing, or you can always come to the Reynolds Company and we can assist you with selecting that. All right, I'm going to discuss one other topic for migration within motion control, and that's the 1756 analog motion cards. These products date back to the early 2000s. They've been discontinued now for about a year due to material shortages. Rockwell offers multiple migration paths depending on the application needs. First, for the 1756 MO2AE and K, those are the analog cards with quadrature feedback. Rockwell technology partner AMCI offers drop-in replacement modules for those. Quantities are limited, so please contact us as soon as possible if you're interested in getting those cards. For the 1756 MO2AS and ASK modules used with devices having serial SSI feedback, as well as the 1756 HYD02 and HYD02K hydraulic modules, the RMC controller from our partner Delta Motion can be used to replicate the functionality of the 1756 modules with some application modification and available assistance from the manufacturer. And then finally, there is a code-based option using AOIs with other I/O modules for analog output and feedback input. This process can be labor intensive. It may not be an option in every application depending on the features and the requirements. Your GOTC may need to get involved in that. So if that becomes sort of an issue for you, get in touch with us. We will make sure that we talk with the right people and that we give you a recommendation and get you in touch with the folks you need to do that. And then there is one future looking migration option for those cards. That is something Rockwell is currently developing. It's a next generation functional replacement module. This is not yet available, but it is intended to bring the functionality of the discontinued analog motion cards to the 5034 I/O platform in a full SIP motion interface, compatible with Control Logix and Compact Logix family of controllers. This product is planned to encompass the entire range of input feedback devices covered by the 1756 modules. Stay tuned for a product introduction announcement that's expected by the end of 2025. All right, another topic. I still see plenty of older motor cables out there that were originally selected for use with MPL motors, having the older bayonet style connectors. Those are designated with a 2 in the part number, as shown up here at the top of the screen. Motors having those connectors have been discontinued for some time now, but I do want y'all to be aware that when those discontinued MPL motors are replaced with modern MPL motors with SpeedTech connectors, you do not necessarily have to run new motor cables. Rockwell sells transition cables. They're about 1/2 meter in length, and those connect the new SpeedTech motors to cables with the old bayonet connectors. Part numbers for those transition cables for both power and feedback cables are shown down there. And see also the document kinetics, rotary, and linear motion cable specifications for more details. Okay, last slide. Finally, our many mechatronic partner vendors all have their own back catalog of mature and discontinued products with new and improved equivalents. Some ones that I'm familiar with are the Wittenstein Alpha LP gearboxes. Those have been replaced by the new, more flexible options of the NP series, or the aging VD worm drive designs, or also the Linmont linear motors. The older ones, DO1, DO2, DO3, have been replaced with newer temperature feedback options, DO5 and DO8. Contact us for information and be sure to check out the Reynolds Mechatronics webpage for an updated list of partners. And with that, I will give the presentation over to Mike Masterson. Thank you.
Thanks, Philip. Good morning, everyone. My name is Mike Masterson. I'm with Reynolds Company, and I'm going to cover the automation and controls aspect of modernization, but we're not really going to be doing a lot on the hardware itself. I'm mainly going to be pointing out tools. But before I get started, I do want to bring some bad news to it. I didn't prepare a slide, but if you wanted that opportunity to be able to purchase Artist Logix 5, you have a very limited time to buy it. Rockwell is going to be taking it off the market if they haven't already. I think it actually goes through the end of the year. So if you want to spend $18,000 on some really old software, you have a limited time to do that. Please keep that in mind. Wayne, can you move the slide, because apparently I'm not having control. All right. So what I said originally in my introduction, I want to show you the tools where you can find life cycle status of your software and your hardware. The first place to start is just going, if you do a Google search for lifecycle Rockwell, that will take you to a web page where you can actually put in the part numbers of your devices and actually see what the life cycle is. You see they have a color code of whether it's active, mature, end of life, or discontinued. All the products are associated with this type of pull down menu. So if you go to this web page, it's a good place to get started to see if your equipment's moldy and we need to put some attention into it to see what we need to do to migrate it down the road. Again, that's on if you just search for Rockwell and Lifecycle, that you'll get to that web page. Next. We also, if you ever go to the Rockwell downloads page for software, you'll notice that we also take a look at software and firmware versions and take a look at what's current and what's not current. You'll notice that Rockwell will a lot of times put limits or blocks on retired software or old software, and a lot of times that's due because it's a security issue or it's a Microsoft operating system issue. It's changed, it's no longer supported. That's why we do it. In certain cases, Rockwell will still allow you to download it, but they're going to ask you to actually go through some motions to do it because they want to protect your investment in the field and not make sure you try to make sure you have the most current safe equipment out there. Next slide. And what we're looking here is on the left side of this panel, you notice that's the product lifecycle page. That's where you can get an instant update on where your hardware or software sits. But if you want to take a world view, the other website I will promote is the Rockwell PCDC. That's where you can actually download your software and compare and look at the notes for each release of software or the hardware, compatibility issues, firmware issues. All this information can be pulled up here. As you notice on the right side here, you can actually get the life cycle status, but it also gives you the notes on the equipment that will tell you if there's any issues with any other hardware, where there might be an incompatibility there. So this is generally where all the specialists start when we start looking at comparing hardware and seeing what's compatible. And also we'll talk about it. So, and on PCD, and that stands for Program Compatibility and Download Center. If you just search Rockwell PCDC, that's good enough. And I'd say set a bookmark for it. But when you pull up the software, you can actually see the life cycle of it, whether it's an active or if it's a managed. And generally, if it's active, that generally means we're working with current, the latest, greatest operating systems. So there's no issues. The managed, when it goes to managed, they want to control the release of it. So a lot of times Rockwell will ask you to put a case down why you need the specific version. Then when you get to the other legends, you'll find that Rockwell will hold back on releasing those. Next slide. So what we're looking at here, this is typically the site, what view we get from PCDC. When I want to review software, and in this case, we're looking at versions of Studio 5000. With an L73 controller, we're looking at versions 32 through 28. You'll notice that there are retired versions, which Rockwell won't allow you to download, and that applies to 30.13 down to 28.11. There's usually a specific reason. It could be a security issue. Maybe they found a hole in it. But generally what you want to migrate to is the preferred versions. That's generally, those are the latest. They don't have any conflicts. That's where we want you to go. But as you notice on this page, we have icons for everything, which will give you a good direction on what versions we're trying to do. One thing that does get me is they use green for retired version and black for preferred version. Why they changed their color codes from at this point, I have no clue. All right, next slide. Now, one of the best things Rockwell ever did was when they brought out Control Flash Plus, you now have the ability to scan all your devices on your network and pull up firmware and software revisions of your hardware and your software. So a lot of people don't realize this, but you can use Control Flash Plus as a crawler to go out to your network and look and see if you have what versions of firmware your hardware might be at. And it'll give you a lot, mainly a way to quickly update those if you want to, and if there's any conflicts or anything. So a lot of people, in fact, I think Control Flash Plus is actually the tool Rockwell Services uses most of the time when they start and install base evaluation. And a lot of times this is part of your toolkit. So if you want just do an initial look at what you have out in the field, please use Control Flash Plus. And if you're not familiar with it, reach out to your automation specialist and we'll try to help you walk you through it on how to utilize this tool. All right, next slide. Also, the same capabilities built in FactoryTalk Asset Center. This is for the people who are using it. This is besides keeping a repository of your different softwares and stuff, it actually keeps track of your hardware, firmware revisions, and allows you to quickly identify what you might be having an issue with down the road. So keep that. That is a part of Asset Manager or Asset Center, but a lot of people forget that is a part of Asset Center. Next slide. And I put together this list, and I'm more than glad to set it up. These are some migration publications Rockwell has out. I pulled out, I guess, 5 of the most common ones I use on a daily to weekly basis. But you'll notice we have guides from going from Legacy Panel View to Panel View Plus 7, newer one for Panel View Plus 6 to Panel View Plus 7. Nice thing about these manuals, they'll give you if there's any dimensions issues, they'll let you know, and they'll also let you know if there's an adapter issue, and also if there's any communications conflicts. A lot of the old panel view standards might have been using more of a serial-based protocol. These manuals will actually let you know where those are the issues, and that's what some of the things you're going to have to correct on your own. We also have a Micrologics Micro 800 guide. This is a pretty big deal right now because the Micrologics has been going away for years. We're down to the Micrologics 1400 right now. So how do we migrate these small platforms? So there is a guide out that will help walk you through some of this. There is a conversion code utility tool. In fact, I will say Rockwell on their Studio 5000, RSLogix 500, Micrologics, we do have conversion utilities. The only thing is, because a lot of times the newer programs are completely different, we can only migrate the programs 60 to 70, 80% of the way, depending on how the code was written. So this is not a magic bullet conversion on it. It's not going to make everything great, but it will do a lot of the low end work for you. Also, something very important today is slick to compact logics migration. We do have some articles on that, on what needs to be addressed when you do this type of migration. So, and last but not least, to me, something really important, because we have a lot of older control systems that were on ControlNet. ControlNet is not actually going away, but we're not supporting it so much in our new stuff. It's kind of, I'll say it's kind of a dead network, but it works great. But how are we going to migrate it? So to Ethernet, this manual will let you know what you need to address, how to change the code, and actually how to change the physical architecture of your network. It's the first place you need to start when you look at these migrations. And I'll say this is a big area because we've used a lot of ControlNet over the past 20 years, and a lot of that is now in a time where we're going to have to start considering migrating that over to Ethernet. So again, please, if you're interested in that, please review the manual or get with one of your automation specialists. All right, next slide. Go ahead and hit it one more time. This is something I've already addressed, and this is actually a slide that I actually used back in January. I just want to reinforce the Micrologics are going away with the exception of the 1400, and I can't really tell you what the lifespan on that is going to be, but I would not want to use Micrologics as a new system right now. But our migration paths for the Micrologics is generally either going to be to a Micro 800 type controller or a compact logic. So we do have tools in place to help with these migrations. Generally, if it's a 1400 or a 1500, you're going to migrate to a compact logics, but the smaller platforms where you have the Micrologics 1000, 1100, and 1200, those really fit more of the model of the Micro 858, Micro 870 on the migrations. We have added new features to the Micro 800s. We can now support limited class 1 messaging. So that means we can do some remote IO or put a drive off of Micro 800, which is something you couldn't do with Micrologics. It's going to have tighter integration. And I think I removed the slide, but there will be a new version of CCW being released probably in the next year. It will not be called CCW. It'll have a look and feel closer to Studio 5000. So just be ready for that. And I will acknowledge if any of you have used the Micro or CCW software, there is an issue currently with Windows 11. And I'll let you know it's affecting upload and download speeds. Rockwell is aware of it. They are addressing it. The new software is going to take care of that. But the one thing I found is if you downgrade to a Windows 10 OS, the download speeds will increase drastically. So maybe it's in that case, it might be good to have a VM of an older OS to look at those systems. Let's see, next slide. Also, this is about the only time I'm really going to touch on hardware, because helps with the migration part of it, because we have a lot of DeviceNet MCCs out there. A lot of times we might have had a compact Logix, an L set, or excuse me, a 1769 style. Well, Rockwell now has a DeviceNet scanner module for the 5380 compact Logix. So if you are planning on migrating some of your older systems, but still need to support the DeviceNet, this is a good way of doing it. This will help you until you figure out whether you want to migrate your DeviceNet or not. You can actually move to a newer hardware platform and still support the DeviceNet with a gateway that's on the chassis. And next slide. This is coming out fairly shortly as part of modernization plans. This is the last hardware slide I'll talk about, but the 1756 RM2 module will be going away. It will be replaced by the RM3. It will be backwards compatible down to V20, so that shouldn't be an issue. For the most part, it will be a drop-in replacement, but the only gotcha here is you're going to have to remember you're going to have to replace them in pairs. You can't have an RM2 work with an RM3. You're going to have two RM3s. Again, these are the redundancy modules, so anybody who uses these will understand that. And with that, I think that's my last slide. I would like to thank everyone for coming out, and we will see you again next week. Now, we will hang on the line a little bit. If there's any questions, just feel free to type them out and we'll get back to you. But again, thank you for your time, and we'll see you next month.